You'll need to wear this. My sister Vanessa tossed a butler's uniform onto my bed, not even bothering to look me in the eye. The resort staff is short-handed, and since you work in hospitality, you can make yourself useful. I picked up the pressed black uniform, fighting to keep my expression neutral. If she only knew that I wasn't just in hospitality, I owned a Crystal Cove resort, along with 12 other luxury properties around the world. You want me to serve drinks at your wedding? I kept my voice steady, though my hands wanted to shake. Well, it's not like you can afford to be a proper guest, Michael. She smoothed her designer dress, checking her reflection in my bedroom mirror. Besides, Daddy says it's good for you to understand your place. Some people are meant to serve, others to be served. I thought about the deed to the $300 million resort sitting in my office safe, about the staff of 200 who actually worked for me, about the fact that Vanessa had practically begged for a last-minute booking at my most exclusive property. But she didn't know any of that. None of them did. 10 years ago, I'd walked away from the family's investment firm to pursue my dreams in the hospitality industry. A disgrace, my father had called me. No son of mine will be a bellhop. What they never understood was that I hadn't wanted to be a bellhop. I'd wanted to revolutionize the entire luxury hotel industry. While they were busy looking down their noses at service workers, I was learning every aspect of the business, identifying problems, and creating solutions that would eventually make me a fortune. The wedding starts at 6, Vanessa continued, checking her phone. Be there by 4 to help set up. And Michael? She finally turned to look at me. Try not to embarrass me. These are very important people attending. I bit back a laugh. Those very important people were mostly my clients, CEOs, celebrities, and politicians who regularly stayed at my properties. They knew me as Michael Chen, the reclusive owner of Crystal Cove Resorts International. None of them had any idea I was related to the bride. I'll do my best, I said mildly. After she left, I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. The wedding contract was still open. Vanessa had nearly cried when she called begging for a venue after her original location fell through. The Crystal Cove Resort usually booked 2 years in advance, but I'd made an exception. Your family name carries weight, my events manager had told her, following my script perfectly. Mr. Chen has approved your booking personally. She preened at that, assuming it was our family's reputation in finance that had opened the doors. The irony was almost too perfect. My phone buzzed, a text from my assistant David. Everything's set for tomorrow. Staff briefed and sworn to secrecy. Are you sure about this? I thought about all the family gatherings where I'd been seated at the children's table well into my 30s, about the client meetings where my father had introduced me as our family's hospitality expert, with a smirk, about Vanessa's constant reminders that I was the family disappointment. Absolutely sure, I typed back. Make sure the uniforms are ready. The next morning, I arrived at the resort through the service entrance, carrying the butler's uniform Vanessa had given me. My staff, played along perfectly, treating me like a new hire, showing me where to store my belongings. Mr. Chen, my head of security, whispered as I passed. The cameras are all set. We'll capture every moment. I nodded slightly. I wanted a record of this day, not for revenge, but for remembrance. Sometimes the best lessons come wrapped in humble packages. The resort was in full wedding mode. Flowers worth more than most cars filled the grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and an army of staff moved with practiced precision to prepare for the evening's events. My father arrived around noon, barking orders at the staff like he owned the place. I watched from behind a service door as he complained about the champagne selection, the same vintage I knew he served at his own parties. Don't you have anything better? He demanded of the sommelier. This is a Crawford family wedding. Do you know who we are? The sommelier, who knew exactly who I was, kept his face professionally blank. I'll check with management, sir. My mother appeared next, fussing over every detail with the wedding planner. She passed me twice without a second glance, her own son, invisible in a butler's uniform. By 4 o'clock, guests began arriving. I recognized most of them, not just as family members, but as clients. The CEO of Atlantic Industries, who had just booked my Maldives property for his anniversary. The media mogul who held his annual board meetings at my Swiss resort. The tech billionaire who liked to joke that he'd buy Crystal Cove Resorts one day, not knowing he was talking to its owner. Michael. Vanessa's sharp voice cut through my observations. Stop standing around and make yourself useful. The guests need drinks. I picked up a silver tray of champagne flutes, moving smoothly through the crowd as I'd seen my staff do countless times. Each guest took a glass without really seeing me, exactly as my family had done for years. My cousin Peter, who'd recently made partner at his father's law firm, actually snapped his fingers at me. "Hey you, we need more ice at table 3. I fought back a smile, remembering how he asked to handle the legal work for Crystal Cove Resorts last month. I'd had my corporate office send him a polite rejection. As the evening progressed, I played my role perfectly. I served drinks, cleared plates, and stayed in the background. But I was watching, listening, gathering every condescending comment and dismissive gesture. The wedding ceremony was about to begin, and soon, very soon, they would all learn what it truly meant to understand one's place. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from David. "The signs are ready, on your signal." I texted back a single word. Wait. The best revelations, like the best service, are all about timing. The wedding ceremony had just ended, and the reception was in full swing. Vanessa looked radiant in her designer gown, floating through the crowd like she owned the place. The irony wasn't lost on me as I continued my role as server, invisible yet seeing everything. "I can't believe you managed to book the Crystal Cove Resort," one of her friends gushed. "It's impossible to get a last-minute reservation here." Vanessa preened. "Well, you know how it is. The Chen family has quite a reputation. When they heard our name, they practically begged us to hold the wedding here." I suppressed a smile as I refilled their champagne glasses. She had no idea how right she was about the Chen name, just the wrong Chen. "Michael." My father's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Stop dawdling and bring more wine to the head table, and try not to spill it this time." I hadn't spilled a drop all night, but that was beside the point. I collected a fresh bottle of the $1,000 wine I'd personally selected for the evening and made my way to the family table. "You know," my father was saying loudly to his business associates, "it's actually good that Michael ended up in service. Keeps him humble. Not everyone is cut out for real success." The men around him chuckled, swirling their expensive wine in crystal glasses that I had imported from Venice. My mother touched his arm gently. "At least he's working," she said, though her tone suggested this was the barest minimum of achievement, unlike cousin Timothy, who still lives in his parents' basement. I checked my watch. Almost time. "Hey, Butler," Peter called out, snapping his fingers again. "Tell the management we need better music. This playlist is amateur hour." I had personally curated the evening soundtrack, a mix of classical pieces performed by the London Symphony Orchestra, which I happened to sponsor. "Of course, sir," I replied smoothly. "I'll speak to the owner right away." "Good luck with that," Vanessa laughed. "Mr. Chen never shows his face. He's probably some old recluse who doesn't even know what's happening in his own hotel." That was my cue. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to David. "Now." The crystal chandeliers dimmed slightly and the massive screens around the ballroom flickered to life. The resort's logo appeared, followed by a message that made the room fall silent. "Welcome to Crystal Cove Resort." A message from the owner. My father frowned. "What's this?" The screens shifted to show a series of photographs. Me signing the resort's purchase agreement, cutting the ribbon at our Dubai location, accepting Luxury Hotelier of the Year award. In each image, I was clearly recognizable as Michael Chen, owner and CEO of Crystal Cove Resorts International. The silence in the room was deafening. I removed the butler's jacket, revealing a perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit underneath. "Actually," I said, raising my voice slightly, "Mr. Chen is quite aware of everything that happens in his hotels." Vanessa's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. My father's face had gone pale, while Peter seemed to be choking on his wine. That's not possible," Vanessa stammered. "Would you like to see the deed?" I asked pleasantly. "Or perhaps the resort's financial statements? I believe you'll find everything in order." "You own Crystal Cove Resorts?" My father's voice was barely a whisper. "All 13 properties," I confirmed. "Though this one is special. It's where I first learned the meaning of true hospitality, something this family never quite understood." The screens now showed images of my other properties, the snow-capped peaks surrounding our Switzerland location, the pristine beaches of our Maldives resort, the glittering lights of our Singapore tower. "While you were all busy mocking my career choice," I continued, I was building an empire, one that's now worth considerably more than Crawford Investment Group. That hit home. My father's company had been our family's source of pride for generations. The fact that I had surpassed it while playing the role of humble hotelier was almost too much for him to process. "Why didn't you tell us?" my mother asked, her voice small. "Would you have believed me?" I countered. 10 years ago, you said I was throwing my life away, that no son of yours would ever work in service. While you were right about one thing, I don't work in service. I revolutionized it." David appeared at my side, tablet in hand. "Mr. Chin, the governor is on line 1. Shall I tell him you're busy with a family matter?" The room erupted in whispers. The same governor who had dismissed me as the help earlier was now asking for me by name. "Michael." Vanessa stepped forward, her wedding dress rustling. "I never meant, we didn't know." "No, you didn't," I agreed. "You were all too busy looking down to ever look up. But that's okay, because while you were focused on appearances, I was building something real." I turned to address the gathered guests, many of whom were my actual clients. "Please enjoy the rest of the evening. The reception has been extended by 2 hours, with my compliments. Though I'm afraid I'll have to stop serving drinks personally." A ripple of nervous laughter went through the crowd. My father stood up, straightening his tie as if preparing for a business negotiation. "Son, perhaps we should discuss this privately." Of course, I nodded. "My office is just upstairs. Though you might remember it, you said the penthouse suite was wastefully large when you checked in yesterday." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. My father had spent 20 minutes complaining about my own office, not knowing he was standing in the headquarters of a billion-dollar company. As the party resumed, now with a very different energy, I caught snippets of conversation. "He owns all of Crystal Cove, the most exclusive resort chain in the world. And they made him serve drinks." Later that night, after the guests had gone and Vanessa had retreated to her honeymoon suite, which I'd upgraded despite everything, I stood in my office overlooking the ocean. David brought in the final event report. "Your family seems subdued," he observed. "Amazing what a little perspective can do," I replied, thinking of Peter's stammered apology and my mother's tearful attempt at reconciliation. "Are you going to tell them about the new properties, the expansion into space tourism?" I smiled, thinking of the contract sitting on my desk. Crystal Cove was about to become the first luxury hotel chain to offer zero-gravity accommodations. "Let's save something for the next family gathering," I said. After all, every good hotelier knows the importance of repeat business. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "Can we talk tomorrow?" I typed back, "Of course. I believe you're booked for breakfast at the oceanfront restaurant. I own that too." Sometimes the greatest service you can provide is teaching others the true meaning of respect. And as I looked out over my resort, I knew that tomorrow would bring a new chapter in the Crawford family story. After all, success isn't about who you serve, it's about how you lead. And sometimes, the best way to lead is to let others discover their own humility. Looking at the butler's uniform still draped over a chair, I couldn't help but smile. It had been worth playing the servant for one last evening, if only to teach my family that true dignity isn't about the uniform you wear, but the person you choose to be. The sun was setting over the ocean, casting a golden glow across the resort, my resort. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and perhaps even new beginnings with my family. But for now, I was content knowing that sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with impeccable style and a perfect view of the ocean.